Jai Shri Ram. This is a GRE AWA issue prompt. Most people think that their deeply held values are the result of rational choice. But reason often has little to do with the people form values. Now you are given 30 minutes and you have to write an essay. And I strongly recommend that you must write at least 300 words, though there is no stipulation there. And your job is to present your opinion and examine all the perspectives that are there. Remember, it is analytical writing. So you cannot afford not to analyze. If you simply agree or disagree, that will almost be a confession of having not analyzed anything. Therefore, like I already told you, these are all moot topics. Never fully agree or disagree. There are always dimensions which can be, right in certain situations and dimensions which are wrong in some other situations. So your job is to do exactly that. Now, if you just informally take a look casually, most people think I have a problem. I doubt if most people think. Most people think that they think, but they don't really know how to think. Unfortunately, we should have been taught how to think in school. We have not been taught that. So that they're deeply held values. Again, I have a problem. Most people don't have any deeply held values to begin with. Well, most people don't even have values. Forget deeply held values. And these values are the result of rational choice. Well, what other things could be the basis for values is the question that should pop up in your mind. See, there are so many values, so many things we hold as dear and cherish as very important in our lives. Now, some of these things are passed down to us from our parents, and they would have got them from their own parents. And some of these things, some of these values are what we gained from the culture, tradition, and so many such sources are there. It could also be a source of individual belief. Now, rational choice, rationality means logical reasoning. The opposite of rationality could be emotionality, intuition. Now, the word intuition can be defined as a deep inner feeling which cannot be logically explained. So, now you have to ask yourself a few questions. What are your deeply held values? Take some time to think about that. You can also say, one of my deeply held value is not to have any deeply held values. That will be very interesting. Why? Because this is a world of reality and relativity rather. So, what could be considered a value today could no longer be one tomorrow, because the world keeps changing, right? Non-violence is a great value. But suppose you're face to face with a terrorist. How would non-violence work? So it doesn't. So what was right in one situation, what could be held as a great moral value in one situation, could be totally useless in another. So, that is one of my viewpoints. Now, you will have to examine, if at all you have any deeply held values, how did you form them? What was the source? Was it because of rational choice? Did you apply reasoning? Now, we'll come back to that later. And the speaker says, but reason often has little to do. Little to do means nothing to do. The speaker says, reason has nothing to do with the way people form values. Now, we just have to examine for a second. Are there any values which are purely based on reasoning? Just think for a second. I think the answer is clear. We all value democracy as a political system. And we have chosen democracy as something which we value. We hold democracy as very valuable. It's a deeply held democratic value, wherein we believe that all humans are equal. We believe in an egalitarian society. We don't believe that anybody could be the king, no monarchy. We believe in a republic. America, being a great democracy, never uses the word democracy in any of its charters. Charter. The charters of America are three: the American Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence. In all these three documents, I remember reading, the word democracy doesn't appear. Why? Why did the founding fathers not use the word democracy? Because they must have felt that democracy suffers from a fundamental flaw, the flaw of majoritarianism. That means if 99 people decide to kill the one person out of the total 100 population and rob him of his money, that is justified in a purely democratic setup, because that's what democracy is all about. Whereas we, as mature, philosophical human beings, would say that even if the 99 are against the one person, law should protect that one person if he is an honest person. And even if he is not honest, there has to be a method in which the person has to be pulled up or prosecuted. So the rule of law is more important to us than the rule of man, or worse still, mob rule. Right? So here is an example. We chose democracy and on the basis of rationality. We rationally examined all other systems, political systems, and we found them wanting, and therefore we chose to have a democracy, right? Liberal democracy. Now, in a communist nation, I do not know whether they were given the option at all. They didn't choose communism as a result of rational choice. It was thrust on them, right? So there are other things which are deeply held values based on rational choice. We value honesty, we value professionalism, we value excellence, we value harmony, we value amity, we value a cosmopolitan society, we value equality, we value equality among the sexes, which means there is no sexism in society, no misogyny, no misanthropy. We value equality, and we would reject any kind of racism or bigotry in the name of religion. So these are all things that we have arrived at after rational choice. So these are examples of values which were the result of rational choice. Okay. Now, what are the other values which are not on the basis of rational choice but purely on the basis of culture? For example, color symbolism. Every people of different religions value different colors. Our national colors are also different in the sense that the national flag, the banner. So each of these colors has a symbolism. But are they objective? No, they are subjective. So therefore, these are values. So there are many other such values which are based on culture. We may value certain symbols, certain icons as very sacred. For example, the totem poles. Every society has its own totems. Every society has its own mojo or mascots. The national animals, the national emblems, all of them are subjective in the sense that we value them because of a subjective notion of their worth. So that's not based on rational choice. That is based on sentiment. So here, now I think we discussed sufficiently well. Your introduction would be, the speaker's statement that reason has nothing to do with people form values is not acceptable because there are many values which are on the basis of rational choice, while at the same time other values could be based on individual choice, group choice, sentiments, culture, tradition, etc. So your first paragraph would be, now let us examine some values which are clearly based on rational choice. Then you go ahead, talk about democracy, liberal democracy, parliamentary system or presidential system, and some of the laws in your country which are all the result of rational choice. The Emancipation Proclamation passed by Abraham Lincoln, abolishing slavery once and for all in America. So that is clearly a great value. based on rational choice. So you should come up with these examples, and you can write 2 paragraphs outlining values which were the result of rational choice, and 2 more or 3 more describing values which were based on some other consideration other than rationality. Remember, rationality means reasoning. So your conclusion will be a paraphrasing of the introduction. Jai Shri Ram. I hope that was useful.